For years and years, Nintendo was embroiled in a battle over music. Fans would upload songs from Nintendo's games to YouTube. Nintendo would take these uploads down. Fans would re-upload the music, and so the battle raged on. All the while, fans wondered, why won't Nintendo release their music on streaming? Why don't they want us to listen to their music? Well, in 2024, all of that finally changed with the launch of Nintendo Music, Nintendo's very own music streaming app. Nintendo Music is convenient and easy to use, but it isn't Spotify or Apple Music. Why didn't Nintendo put their music on these apps that hundreds of millions use every day? Well, to find out, I dug through interviews with Nintendo's staff about the creation of this app. And the answer isn't what you might expect. Here's why Nintendo won't put their music on Spotify. Part 1. Americans hate CDs. So, for years, CDs were the norm when it came to Nintendo's music. Going back as far as the 1990s, you could pick up soundtrack CDs for games like Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, and Yoshi's Story. In Japan, these CDs were, and continue to be, readily available, sitting on the shelves of music stores. Outside Japan, however, they weren't usually so easy to purchase. To give an example, while the Japanese version of Ocarina of Time's soundtrack was released by a major music publisher, in the US, the only way to pick up a copy was by filling out a form from the Nintendo Power magazine. And as the years went on, these US CD releases only became more exclusive, available as rewards from Nintendo's Club Nintendo loyalty program, for instance. So why the gap between Japan and the rest of the world? Well, according to Bill Trinan, an executive at Nintendo of America, in Japan, they've got a pretty established soundtrack business that's mostly CD-based. Japan remains still very physical media-based when it comes to music. In the last decade, Nintendo CD releases in the US and Europe have almost entirely dried up, in fact. Instead, Nintendo judged that American music fans much prefer streaming apps like Spotify and Apple Music. But when employees at Nintendo of America suggested adding Nintendo's music to these services, they were shot down by the company's legal department. According to Kit Ellis, a former Nintendo of America employee, music licensing, just the legalities around that, are, to put it plainly, a complete mess, and there's different rules internationally. So what exactly does that mean? Well, when Nintendo releases a soundtrack, the rights are often split between multiple parties. Nintendo themselves, the record label, and sometimes the original composer too. And those rights can differ from country to country. A soundtrack might be fully owned by Nintendo in Japan, but tied up in licensing complications overseas. Certain games are particularly complex. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, for instance, features hundreds of tracks borrowed from dozens of other companies: Sega, Capcom, Square Enix, and Bandai Namco, each with their own licensing terms. To release that music on Spotify, Nintendo would have to negotiate with every one of those companies individually. That's no small task. So, with these legal difficulties in mind, any suggestion of putting Mario on Spotify was shut down, which left Nintendo in a somewhat thorny situation. Without an official way to listen to Nintendo's music, fans would upload game soundtracks to YouTube for others to listen. Nintendo would regularly take these soundtracks down via copyright strikes, but that didn't change the fact that fans in America and Europe had no way to listen to music from Zelda, Mario, and Splatoon. But in the mid-2010s, things changed within Nintendo. Under the leadership of Satoru Iwata, the company began a move to expand Nintendo's characters and series to other mediums by partnering with experts in the field. They partnered with Illumination, a major animation studio, to create a Mario movie, and they worked with Universal Studios to bring Nintendo theme parks to life. And music? Well, that could be another tool to bring in new Nintendo fans. Bill Trinan explained, "As we're looking at Nintendo and our intellectual property, one of the things we've really started to zero in on is there's a lot more opportunity around music, and we've got a broad music library." And so, in keeping with their partnership strategy, in 2021, Nintendo began holding talks with major music companies about the possibility of working together to make Nintendo's music available to more people. Could this have meant Zelda on Spotify? Mario on Apple Music? Ultimately, no one outside those meetings will know for sure. But in the end, the talks wound up falling through. Undeterred, Nintendo decided to go down a different route. They would create their own music streaming app, exclusively featuring Nintendo's own soundtracks. Part 2. Building the app. Work on this Nintendo Music app was shared between two different teams. First, a small team within Nintendo itself. This team provided the actual music, track names, album art, and screenshots. Meanwhile, the technical side of the app was created by Nintendo Systems, a Nintendo subsidiary company who focus on Nintendo's back-end tech. Things like managing Nintendo's account system, running the eShop, behind-the-scenes tasks, essentially. Now, if Nintendo was to create an app for streaming just game music, they could add in a bunch of game-specific features. For instance, a regular pop song is designed to play once, and it will end with an outro of some kind. But music from video games is designed to loop instead. It usually won't have any kind of ending. Bill Trinan explained, "With game music, it's designed in a way to be interactive and for the music to be flexible and responds to the player's own gameplay, so you have a lot of little interludes and bridges connecting pieces of music together." And so, on Nintendo's own music app, users would be able to loop music seamlessly, just like how it sounds in-game for up to an hour. The team at Nintendo Systems worked hard on this feature. At first, songs would seem to freeze for a brief moment while looping, and the engineers came up with some clever workarounds to stop that from happening. In general, the performance of the app was really crucial. Keisuke Soma, a developer at Nintendo Systems, explained, "The purpose of the app was to let users listen to game music from various eras, using the different playlists to discover new tunes, and so it was vital to keep the time it takes to load each song as short as possible." Another unique game-specific feature of the app was its screenshots. For each music track, a screenshot shows where that song plays in-game. There's literally thousands of these screenshots in the app, and they were all prepared by the small internal team at Nintendo. Evidence suggests these screenshots were taken on real hardware too, rather than an emulator. So employees at Nintendo would have had to dig out N64s, GameCubes, Famicoms, and more. But what about the music itself, the actual audio? Well, for soundtracks which Nintendo had previously released on CD, they generally reused that CD audio for the app. But for other soundtracks, Nintendo worked with outside companies to master the audio. In other words, adjust the individual audio levels to make it sound as good as possible. Japanese music studio Noisy Croak said, "We feel profoundly honored to have been involved in mastering some of the music that has enriched Nintendo's beloved games." And this is another unique selling point of the app. The sound quality of music is often actually better than in the original games. Take New Super Mario Bros. For instance. Here's what the game's ground theme sounds like on an actual DS. here's how it sounds on Nintendo Music. The difference is plainly apparent. Now, all of these high-quality audio files needed processing to prepare them for streaming, which was, again, done by Nintendo Systems. Keisuke Soma gave an example of this process. Animal Crossing features over 400 tracks, totaling around 10 hours, with music varying based on weather and time of day. Our system can process all those files in around 3 minutes. So, in conclusion, by creating their own app from the ground up, not only was Nintendo able to avoid the legal issues of working with major record labels, but they also could build in some unique game-specific features like seamless looping and in-game screenshots. Now the only thing left to do was to launch the app. Part 3. A rocky launch. On the 31st of October 2024, Nintendo announced and launched the Nintendo Music app, exclusively for Nintendo Switch Online members. Fans were shocked. For years, music had been a constant sticking point between fans and Nintendo, but now, all of a sudden, Nintendo were just putting their music out there to listen to. It felt like a huge shift for the company. However, the launch of Nintendo Music didn't come without controversy. First, the music selection was very limited. Just 22 game soundtracks featured on the app at launch, with the company promising regular updates to the library. Out of Nintendo's many hundreds of iconic soundtracks, 22 felt pretty slim, it must be said. But among game music connoisseurs, the bigger issue was composer credits, or the lack thereof. On a traditional music streaming app, you can find the names of performers, composers, and producers for each song. But on Nintendo Music, each track is just credited to Nintendo. For a company who's platformed countless incredible musicians, Koji Kondo, Kazumi Totaka, and so many more, it feels more than a little cruel to cut their names out of Nintendo's music streaming app. I wish they'd give credit to those who helped make this music, wrote one fan. I get trying to be immersive, but I really wished they properly credited the composers, said someone else. In the end, as of late 2025, there's still no composer credits found in the app. And honestly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. But aside from those controversies, the launch of Nintendo Music largely went off without a hitch. On launch day, the app was downloaded by over 250,000 users, quickly growing to 1.2 million by day 4. And while the selection of game soundtracks started fairly small, a new soundtrack has been added almost every week without fail. 1 year later, the app has a large range of music from different consoles and game series, over 100 soundtracks total, in fact. So, back in October 2024, Nintendo put out the following statement. We hope that if Nintendo Music reminds people of their nostalgic gaming memories, they might be inspired to pick up that game once more. Now, could Nintendo have achieved that goal even better if their music was found on traditional music apps, mixed in with the latest and greatest pop hits? You could certainly make a case for that. But Nintendo Music is exactly what the name says. Music streaming done the Nintendo way. After all, what else would you expect from Nintendo? Hey, thanks so much for watching. Videos like this one are made possible thanks to my kind patrons, including Aaron and Catherine, Arthur Nicole, Bones Vivi, Brett Prophet, Cyprian Eov, Daryl Jero, Ellie Birnbaum, Eliza the Doe, Fresh Poetic, Jim Gilsonan, Kieran Chan, Kinuku, Lucas Little, Michael Gunter, Rabinstick, Skater Pie, and Thomas Söderlund.